allow the Idan to choose you, to cultivate an open heart and the capacity to listen to enlightened beings, including your teachers, is the key. The right Idan will naturally align with you. Having said that, all Idans are essentially the same. Any Idan practice will lead us to the Tantric awakening if we practice it accordingly and sincerely.
Okay, hello, Kandrila.
Hello,
Very good to see
Joseph.
you.
Nice to see you again.
Yes,
Thank you for
likewise.
having me.
Yes, my pleasure, absolutely. It's always nice for you to come on here and help us out. It's great to be able to ask you, a great teacher, about our questions. So thank you for joining me today. I do have a couple of questions here. So first of all, I was hoping that we could explain what is Vajrayogini practice. This would be helpful for newcomers.
Okay, so this is a big subject, but I can say a few words about Vajrayogini practice in general, considering a wide variety of audience. As you know, it is a tantric practice centered around the Idang Vajrayogini. In Tibetan Buddhism, Idang, I'm sure you know what the concept of Idang is, but the Idang is a deity or Buddha figure used in meditation to help practitioners recognize their awakened nature and reality. The term Idang is derived from Iki Dansik, bit technical, but Iki Dansik in Tibetan, meaning an oath-bound deity who embodies an enlightened mind. Essentially, Idang is a manifestation of one's own Buddha nature. There are different levels of Idans in Tibetan Buddhism, and Vajrayogini is among so-called the highest yoga tantra Idans in the 4 classes of tantra. She embodies enlightenment and is a cornerstone of the ear whisper lineage in the Gelu traditions. Then question might be, how can we practice Idan then, right? So practicing with the Idan involves means of accomplishment, so-called sadhana, a liturgical guide for sacred journey that transforms ordinary human life into an enlightened experience. Through the sadhana, one relates to and identifies with an enlightened being, transforming one's impure self-identity into the embodiment of enlightenment. Just one more thing in terms of Vajrayogini practice here, I want to mention. In terms of Vajrayogini sadhana, specifically, the 12th century Sakya master, Sakya Pandita, outlines the 11 steps in the sadhana's meditational process, known as the 11 yogas in the generation stage. So these 11 yogas are part of the Vajrayogini Lamrim, I call, the stages of the path to Tantric awakening or Tantric enlightenment, preserved in an unbroken lineage. These 11 yogas form an authentic map to accomplish Vajrayogini-hood, I would say. So in other words, Vajrayogini practice encompasses the entire path through these 11 yogas, something like that.
Yeah, well, it does certainly sounds like it does cover a lot. So that, I suppose that what is Vajrayogini practice is very encompassing. And you were mentioning yidam. So, as far as I understand, there are quite a few yidams. So, as practitioners, how do we choose the right yidam for us?
This is an interesting question. Perhaps one of those Western practitioners' questions. So I would say this. We don't consciously choose a idam. Like, I like this idam, I don't like this idam. Nothing like that. It's more of a choice of the heart, or a choiceless choice, as Trungpa Rinpoche put it. Specific deities resonate with an individual's potential enlightenment often discovered through practice or karmic connection. Traditionally, in the Gelu lineage, the disciple adopt the idam of their teacher or lineage. But of course, requesting an all-knowing Lama to assign a idam or practice is also customary done. In short, allow the idam to choose you, to cultivate an open heart and capacity to listen to enlightened beings, including your teachers, is the key, I think. The right idam will naturally align with you. Having said that, all idams are essentially the same. There are many idams, like in Tibetan Buddhism, as you said, but essentially the same. Any idam practice will lead us to the tantric awakening if we practice it accordingly and sincerely. This point is necessary to mention, I think, so that we don't solidify the idam and make them something separate from our minds and from other idams.
I think, yeah, that's a good point. It's important to remember, the important parts of these things. So thank you for answering that question. And I had another question about the Pure Land. So why would you introduce your students to Kechara, Vajrayogini's Pure Land?
You mean the context of this Vajrayogini practice?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know, are you familiar with a concept or idea of Pure Land? So there are many Pure Lands associated with different idams, such as Padmasambhava's Copper Mountain or Amitabha's Sukhavati, which is quite prevalent in Japan and Asia, as well as Tibet. Vajrayogini Pure Land is called Kechala or Dakini Land, or Okmin, or no more higher than this, Okmin or Akanishta in Sanskrit. So these Pure Lands allow the idams to honor their vows to sentient beings even after death. When studying Vajrayoginis, learning about Kechala and its significance deepens practitioners' understanding and inspire them to go further in their practice. In other words, without introducing Kechala, there will be no Vajrayogini teaching, I would say.
Okay. Wow.
One more thing about Vajrayogini's Pure Land is, among all the different Pure Land, Kechala is said to be the only place where one can study and practice the highest Yoga Tantra, whose premise is awakening in a very short lifetime.
Okay, very good. Thank you for explaining that. I know there's some upcoming classes on the Sundays. Is this at all related to that?
Yeah, as I said, Vajrayogini practice is a comprehensive enabling contemporary practitioner to achieve realization in a very short time. It's said within this lifetime. This Vajrayogini practice is one of the most documented practices in the Gelug tradition, with numerous commentaries by past great masters. So our tradition considers Vajrayogini practice one of the most suitable for busy modern practitioners like us in the West in degenerated eras. We talked about this in the previous interviews, but in any case, the practice aims to transform desire to purity. So we take them onto the path and transcend them into liberation. In terms of format of this retreat, over the 5 classes following the empowerment, I want to share traditional explanation and experiential explanation, both combined, of the 11 yogas, as I just mentioned, in a way that resonate with contemporary practitioners. Then each week we'll cover 2 or 3 yogas among the 11 yogas. The morning session will focus on study, contemplation, and discussions, while the afternoon session will include teachings, and clarifications. By the end of this 5-week retreat, students will have received complete commentary on the 11 yogas and will be ready to incorporate the sadhana into their daily practice with confidence and clarity. So that's the kind of idea.
That's amazing. Wow. That sounds like a great package to be involved with delivers so much. I had a question about the significance of the power transmission during or to conclude the retreat. Could you tell me a little bit more about that part?
Okay, the significance of a poor, that's
Hmm.
what you're asking. This is also a big subject to discuss here, but again, I want to mention a few key points about its transmission and practice. As you may know, the Poa is introduced as the Tibetan Buddhist method for attaining a better rebirth, revelation, or enlightenment at the moment of death or in the after death, so-called Bardo state. So in other words, it is the method for preparation or to prepare for the moment of death. In terms of content of the Poa is a method used at the time of death to transfer consciousness through the crown of the head into the Pure Land. We just talked about the Pure Land, idea of Pure Land.
Hmm.
So that by passing that usual post-death experiences. So very direct method. Life is impermanent and death comes at any time to anybody, right? So
Hmm.
we need to familiarize ourselves with this practice beforehand, especially for those who believe in rebirth. So we want to get the panic or generate fears at the time of death.
Mm.
So let me quote one great master's saying in terms of Poa.
Mm.
Marpa, the translator, said, if you study and practice Poa, then at the time when death is approaching you, you will know no despair. If beforehand you have become accustomed to the path of Poa, then at the time of death, you will be full of cheerful confidence. Isn't nice?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
that's
love to.
ideal. In Japan, we also have this idea of Pure Land and praying for Pure Land, not necessarily doing Poa, but at the time of death, if they have a complete confidence and trust and surrendering into something divine, then no fear, no death, and full of cheerful confidence. So it is taught that one does not return to the samsaric realm after having enter the Pure Land, and
Hmm.
that one can quickly and easily achieve enlightenment from that Pure Land. So Pure Land is the most conducive environment for practitioner to attain enlightenment, you can
Mm.
say.
Mm. Definitely a place worth visiting then for sure. Um, and that makes it all the more enticing to do the 5 classes on Sunday.
Yeah, but I just want to mention a few more things. So there are
Mm.
various Poa practice. Poa is not just one kind of Poa. There are various Poa practices in the Tibetan tradition, each linked to different Idans or different Buddhas. Once you receive empowerment for the specific Idan, in this case Vajrayogini, receiving the corresponding Poa transmission is beneficial, increasing the propensity to be reborn in that Idan. In this case, Vajrayogini is Pure Land. So in terms of Tantric or Vajrayana context, the Poa is advanced tantric practice and one of the completion stage yogas. There are lots of terminology here, but
Mm.
you might say that higher advanced tantric practice called 6 yogas of Naropa, that
Mhm.
completion stage practice. What I wanted to say here is, therefore, it is crucial to approach this kind of practice with a solid foundation in the public teaching, sutra teaching, and the generation stage practices. Yeah, so this is not something anybody can jump in. Okay, let's practice power. It's nothing like that. Although it's very kind of a nice practice, and don't you think it's
Mm.
can die with confidence and a cheerful feeling and
Yeah, I would love to.
yeah. So, but here we are advised to really establish the foundation regarding the significance of offering this Vajrayogini power at this point. It's vital to highlight the importance of a few things. Solid bodhicitta, making our lives meaningful, maintaining unshakable trust in the Idan, who is inseparable from your Lama, and conviction in your Buddha nature. So you can have a complete confidence in your capacity to awaken. So that
Mhm.
ensure the effectiveness of Poa for Vajra Yogini practitioners. So I present the Poa transmission as an integral part of this retreat, along with Vajra Yogini empowerment teaching and practice retreat. So something like that.
Mm-hmm. I guess so. You could say that the POA is a good sort of maybe summary to all the different practices for the Vajrayogini practice, because it does encompass sort of the end of all things. Yes.
It's a supplement and important. So I just want to say one more thing. So those of you who might already been practicing the tantric journey and Vajrayana practice, of course, if you have realized Mahamudra, if you have realized the nature of mind, if you complete the journey in this lifetime, then at the time of death, you don't need it, right? There is no problem at death. But
Mm-hmm.
if your practice is not complete, then poor practice is very helpful. So in other words, I don't want to make things complicated, but for us tantric practitioners, especially highest yoga tantric practitioners, we try to aim for plan A. Plan A is awakening in this life. Then plan B, if we cannot do that, then at the time death, we apply this poor practice. Also, there are lots of way more to this teaching, poor practice, poor teaching. What is ultimate poor, so to speak. But I think that might be enough for now.
Well,
Hopefully, some people get some idea and inspire some to join us.
yeah, I think you've said enough on how powerful this practice can be and how meaningful it can be. So I think I'm sold. Other people will definitely be sold. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing that you're helping us do. Thank you for providing that, and thank you for taking the time to answer the questions once more. It's always nice to hear you speak about these things and explain things. So thank you.
I thank you, Joseph, for interview, asking me some interesting questions and allow me to have an opportunity to explain. So I enjoy our conversation. Yeah, I hope the audience also enjoyed as well.
Yeah, I hope so too. Well, it's always great to hear what you have to say. So I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be thankful, whoever comes across this. So thank you, Kandrila.
Thank you, Joseph.
Yes.
Bye.
Well, bye for now.